four-way split of the top four there. The pushback from the McLaren and Ferrari crew just to allow Norris and Hamilton to lay down a load of rubber on their formation lap starts and grip up their grid boxes a little bit more to go and attack the Mercedes as we get the green flag. Interesting angle of attack for George Russell, maybe considering what to do as they leave the line once again. Fantastic sound from our commentary box position. Russell, Antonelli, Norris, Hamilton, Piastri, then Charles Leclerc. Gasly, Verstappen, Behrman and Hadjar, the top 10.
It's actually a very slow pull away for the majority of the front-running cars. You can see there as we go on board with Piastri only now getting into the entry to turn one. So we saw something quite different in Melbourne, where George Russell, it was like, you know, an outlap from a pit stop. So are they strategically doing something different on what is a much longer racetrack?
So many of the drivers, almost the whole field, started with depleted batteries in Melbourne, and that's because they did the aggressive start, you know, usual formation up they've done their entire lives. Here, they were dropping the clutch, they were finding some wheel spin, finding the limit of grip, but they weren't depleting the battery, and it's all part of the learning process. It starts from the drivers at the front. Everyone else then has to kind of keep up through the formation lap, but they've all got to be keeping an eye on the battery from the moment they drop the clutch to make sure that they can start with something to attack or defend with.
This is the 25th Formula One sprint race. The format began in 2021. This is George Russell's first ever sprint pole. Lando Norris has plenty of them, and he is the driver trying to get amongst the Mercedes. Lewis Hamilton has so much support around this racetrack, and he won the sprint race here from sprint pole. It's his only top three finish for Ferrari.
You know what's going to be difficult is the fact that it's so windy, but it's so cold as well. So everyone keeping half an eye on the batteries on these formation laps. The drop the clutch, but then wait. You can see the gap there between Antonelli and Norris. Everyone weaving, snaking down that back straight to get the fronts up to temperature, but not take away anything from the battery. And having your battery, but then having your tyres fired up for the start is going to be such a difficult balance.
Yeah, and we've got Russell making his way on the start-finish grid already, and we've got Albon just getting into turn 11, which is going to launch him down on the back straight. So it's ended up actually being a more spread out run to the actual grid start than would be normally the case.
Medium tyres for nearly everyone in the field. Hadjar's gone for softs in 10th. They'll fire up a little bit quicker. There's a few further back on the hards, but the bulk of the contenders are on the mediums. They are not going to warm up that quickly.
Yeah, hard tyres. That's going to be an adventure for Liam Lawson. He's the lead driver on the hard tyre. Isaac Hadjar has gone for the grippier launch off the line on the soft. Your main contenders, only the top 8 score points in this sprint format. 8 points for victory. That's what George Russell is aiming for, but it's medium tyres for all. The track temperature is incredibly low. It is very, very windy out there. Track temperature is 13 degrees. Air temperature is 14 degrees. The wind is gusty. Remember what we saw with the Saubers last year when that caught them out. They were spinning on the opening lap. So the drivers still learning this brand new technology in Formula One, still lining up. And a landmark for Cadillac. They are going to find themselves taking the lights in their first sprint race. One driver of the 22 in the pit lane, that's Alex Albon.
Feel how long the hold is for Russell in the shade on the pole position.
Okay, 21 on the grid. Green flag at the back. It waves and the revs will rise. The pre-start hold. And the first sprint of the season will be 5 lights away. We're underway and racing to turn number 1. Poor start, Kimi Antonelli's been left behind, swallowed by the field. George Russell with the lead. Lando Norris with second place. Lewis Hamilton looking to try and take that second place away. Going brave to the inside. Oscar Piastri wide in the background. Lewis Hamilton to second position. Antonelli fading. Norris is down to third, having been momentarily up to P2. It's Russell, Hamilton, Norris, Leclerc, Piastri, your top 5.
Yeah, and Antonelli bogged immediately, and then the cars behind, more space on this grid for them to do the avoiding action. And then we need to try and figure out as a contact.
Antonelli and Hadjar. Hadjar had the grippier tyres. Charles Leclerc going past the McLaren of Lando Norris. Ferrari looking good. Lewis Hamilton all over the back of his teammate, looking to the inside and going through. Lewis Hamilton loves this place. He loves it even more. Ferrari hit the front with Lewis Hamilton.
Love to see that. That is creative, instinctive racing from Lewis Hamilton. And then we have to now see what is the comeback from George Russell.
Well, it's what we saw in Melbourne on the first lap, isn't it? Ferrari's going aggressive.
Oh, round goes the Racing Bull Arvid Lindblad. Such a great debut race. He spins it around. Lewis Hamilton under pressure from George Russell. Once again in Formula One, Ferrari versus Mercedes. Brawling, pass, repass. Russell has the inside line. George Russell has P1. It is Russell, then Hamilton, Leclerc and Norris. It is Piastri in fifth. Upper place went Pierre Gasly. Antonelli running P8. The Mercedes man leads. Another great opening lap.
But we're coming on to another straight. Can Hamilton come back towards the first corner?
He's in the wheel tracks, he's in the slipstream, he's feeling racy. Welcome back to the front, Lewis Hamilton. It's been a while.
Yeah, that's great stuff, isn't it? You had George Russell there defending the inside line, and both in straight mode, but in the end, that extra power put Lewis Hamilton around the outside.
And he's gone. He carried so much speed into the first corner. Russell was busy defending it and then compromised his entry as well. So Hamilton stays ahead with a little bit of a breathing space.
That's laid on the brakes and brave for Antonelli, trying to recover positions. That is one gained, up to P7. He's past Behrman.
I thought we'd lost part of his wing end plate, but it looks like it was intact there, so maybe it was another part of the car that decided to part company. Can't see anything obvious as he's going to use the Lewis pass.
That is nicely done. Passing cars at will. We're going to see the real capability of the Mercedes. 19 laps, no pit stops. Flat out action. We've had plenty of action to start this one. Antonelli now gets himself recovering up to P6. Both his starts in Formula One this year defined by poor launches off the line.
So they're onto the back straight again. Hamilton technically has overtake because he was behind at the final corner last time around. I don't think it's going to matter. Here comes Russell.
Single detection point. You get it for the whole lap, even if you take the lead. Russell didn't feel brave enough to take it back, and he's putting his old teammate under pressure. The 7-time champion of the world is our race leader. Look at the battery state as we go through the 16th and final corner.
Yeah, so Hamilton's got more to deploy because he's got overtake, so he's allowed to deploy the battery for longer. That's now switched to Russell for this lap, but he's completely depleted, so he's going to have to harvest something. All the while, you've got Leclerc coming into the fray, and here comes Leclerc.
So Charles Leclerc all over the back of George Russell. Ferrari brawling right now, trying to take advantage early on. Remember, Mercedes came good in the second half of the race. Keep you updated for Max Verstappen, 4-time world champion, having a really tough weekend. Poor launch for him. He's down 6 places, trying to recover some. Currently P14.
And all the while, Antonelli's trying to get back towards the fight as well. So I agree. I thought we'd lost a little bit of his front wing. If we did or if we didn't, it's not slowing him down right now as he's on the back of Piastri.
Do you remember Charles Leclerc here last year? Lost a bit of the front wing, had a great attacking drive.
Yeah, indeed. I think that was as an effect of when the end plate dropped, you actually picked up some front aero grip there. So it's one of those things that wasn't enough to get a penalty, but it was enough to give him performance. Right, are we going to see Russell now with that extra energy finding his way past Hamilton? But you can see how racy Leclerc is behind as well.
Yeah, Hamilton throws a defence here, then Leclerc's in a prime position to pick up and make this a Ferrari 1-2. Russell's attacking on the exit. Here we go.
That car moving around because he's absolutely desperate to deploy all the power, and it's going to be enormous Mercedes power to breeze past the Ferrari, and George Russell hits the front once again.
Yeah, you can really see how much that extra power, because that's not classic slipstream. Both the cars in a low drag mode in straight line, that was just pure horses.
He's used more than he needed to there. He's absolutely flown past Lewis. He almost needed to save a little bit back because now the shoe is back on the other foot.
Yeah, but they're learning as they go. And here's Hamilton coming again.
Hamilton doesn't have to think about 50-50s. He's fed up of hearing that he hasn't won since here last year, and he's going back to first place in the race.
Beautiful. Managed to slam the door shut at turn 2 as well, so you're sweeping through 1, carrying the speed. Russell thought about keeping a nose in, but can't. He's close again to 6.
To the hairpin at 6. The block move from Hamilton and no way through for George Russell.
And this actually works for Hamilton. The more he keeps Russell busy, that allows Leclerc, who just feels like he's sitting back, just minding his energy, knowing where he can actually effect a pass, and it's not going to be in these high-speed turns.
George Russell knows that this is his first ever chance in his Formula One career to win the World Championship. He can't afford to have the contact. Hamilton just desperate to get another win on the board for Ferrari. Never done it in the Grand Prix format for Ferrari. He's won the sprint here exactly 1 year ago.
So he has overtake again because he was behind at the final corner, the detection point.
And so overtake, it allows you more power, it allows you to recharge a little bit more as well. It is the replacement from DRS in 2025 to 2026. There's one detection point, and even if you get by, you get it for the whole lap.
Yeah, it's smart from Hamilton.
Oh, Antonelli looking for another move. The McLaren's in close proximity as well. They're 4th and 5th. Antonelli has been able to stay with them. He's looking to make it a 4-car fight at the front. And that's to the inside of the apex of turn 16.
Yeah, well, nice pass, brave pass, but you can see it's meant that he's dropped back a little bit from Norris.
George Russell, Lewis Hamilton, side by side again. Russell going slightly cautious, thinking about the long game, and still Lewis Hamilton holds the lead.
But this lap he's going to have a chance to do the breeze by again on the back straight because the shoe is on the other foot. So Piastri's come back past Antonelli, again trading energy in this yo-yo racing. McLaren's were on a sort of group waft on the back straight, weren't they, which allowed Kimi the chance to do the up and under into the final corner.
Hey, remember the start? I don't. Let's have another look.
Yeah, Antonelli just bogged immediately, but plenty of space, unlike in Melbourne, for the two Ferraris to sneak on through. And, well, we're going to see there's where Piastri got pushed wide, actually, so trying to go around the outside of Leclerc, who drifted out, and then he was just out on the marbles.
It's a really important pass for Leclerc to clear Norris, though, on the first lap, because the McLaren's pace just isn't that of the Ferraris.
On board with Lewis Hamilton, say goodbye to Antonelli on the left, say hello to contending for the lead.
Yeah, Antonelli's not on terms with starting these cars yet, is he? They're difficult. We've seen how different and on a knife edge they are, and both Ferraris then had to negotiate the slow Mercedes.
We're on board with Max Verstappen. Poor launch off the line. Your race lead is about to change again. George Russell has the apex, has the position. Charles Leclerc looking at second place. And once more, George Russell is able to take the lead. The yo-yo racing and Formula One putting on a show in Shanghai. Can Russell stay there now?
Yeah, well, look, this is, if we assume this keeps going, you want to make sure that you're behind as you start the final lap, so you've got that extra energy available for the back straight.
We're in lap 6 and George keeps passing on the back straight. So the two Ferraris now very close as Charles thinks about having his go towards the front of the race. But once again, Lewis is going to have the chance to deploy more energy for this lap because he's behind going into the final corner.
Tyres all look clean. There were some question marks with these cold conditions. Would we even on the medium start to see some graining, but no obvious signs of damage to the tyre surface.
Kimi Antonelli is the driver in the left-hand side of your picture. The Italian teenager is trying to get past Oscar Piastri, the third-place finisher in the Formula One World Championship last year.
Piastri's just dropped away from the back of Norris, so Antonelli could well have a good chance on the back straight. Hamilton's drifting away here as well from Russell, so Russell's got the place, and he's just thought, I've got to check out from these guys before we get to the back straight and the big energy deployment zone. That's coming up right now on the exit, and George is trying to make hay.
If you are within 1 second of the car in front at turn 16, you get overtake mode. And Charles Leclerc looking to try and improve up to second place. He's got a little bit of wear on the inside of that front left, but he's got Lewis Hamilton in his sights at the moment. Ferrari versus Ferrari. Is he going to be able to get there? Not quite. Look at Antonelli, left-hand side of your picture. Surely he will be able to get to the inside of the McLaren. He does so. Kimi Antonelli is up to 5th place.
Yeah, he's got a feeling that the Norris Piastri, realizing he's not really in that race with Antonelli. He wants to go with them and try and get back onto the back of Norris.
If he doesn't make it through here, Piastri, then I think Antonelli's going to have that chance to break away from the first of the McLaren to go hunting Lando up the road. Then you've got the two Ferraris. Guys, we're only at third distance of the sprint.
Right, let's go back to the start replay. This is Max Verstappen.
Yeah, absolute bog down, you can see. So not even, that's the internal combustion engine, only at that initial reaction, and it bogged down. So he gets swamped into the first corner.
I don't know if the turbo wasn't spooled appropriately. It's all on the combustion engine as he drops the clutch.
This was lap 1. Kimi Antonelli had dropped down at this point to around 10th place. Oh, huge whack. He was he was very fortunate that wasn't race ending.
Yeah, so the bodywork we saw came off the Red Bull.
And that got him a 10-second time penalty for causing a collision. That contact penalised by the stewards.
Yeah, he's not a rookie anymore, but he certainly drove like one at the start of that race, I'd say.
Well, Lewis, I think he's struggling.
Copy.
Another way of saying, okay, guys, give him the call, let me go and see if I can make inroads to Russell.
It was very well behaved between the two Ferraris. Charles Leclerc's had some history with teammates at this corner in the past. Again, tucks back in.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be in front of him, does he, going into the final corner?
Kimi Antonelli's not waiting around. He's using that Mercedes to great effect. He's up to 4th position.
So he's got to put 10 seconds on these guys, though. Look, Behrman's a long way away, so 7th place is already on the cards for Antonelli.
Charles Leclerc going through to the inside, and it's now the man from Monaco up to 2nd place. Hamilton tries to hang it out around the outside. Charles Leclerc sees it coming and takes P2.
Yeah, I think that Charles could have gone for the pass down into turn 14, but didn't want it. He wanted to use and get the benefit of being behind as he started the lap, so he's got to try and brake now.
Yeah, feeling that he's quicker, and now we've got the section with a good sequence of corners. So 6th, a little stamp on the throttle. They'll harvest some energy through the high speed here. Let's see if they're still able to do this flat with recharge. They sure are. Oh no, little feather out there for Hamilton.
See the revs rising, the battery recharging. That front left is not looking in great shape for Lewis Hamilton.
All the fighting with Russell, having to push very hard through certain corners, particularly these long right-handers, means that you do stress the tyre. So can Leclerc stay clear of his teammate as they come down to this full throttle section? Wait for it, try and deploy the power, and now we go. And Hamilton is just starting to struggle, isn't he?
Yeah, that tyre does not look in great shape for the 7-time world champion. George Russell leads the first sprint race of the season, and Charles Leclerc, who went side by side with him, pass and repass in Melbourne, is trying to get on terms. He's looking to get within there. By the way, Antonelli in clear air running half a second quicker than his teammate George Russell, to give you an idea of what Mercedes have got if they ran at full pelt, if you like.
Yeah, but it's going to be let's say a practice for the Grand Prix for Antonelli, because once he gets that 10-second penalty applied, he's going to drop well down the order.
Outside line, inside line, P2 momentarily back in possession of Lewis Hamilton. Not much room for margin between the two Scarlet Ferraris.
Oh, I just sensed there was going to be contact and a bit of bodywork there as they go at it, hammer and tongs.
Well, they're allowed to race. Fred Vasseur imposing that rule. We've seen it in the past with Sainz and with Leclerc, seeing it with Hamilton. He doesn't care what condition his front left is in. He wants 2nd place in the first sprint race of the season. Charles Leclerc still holding on to it for the moment.
Well, it's a lot of fun to watch. A great show from those two through the first sector. How they didn't come to blows on the apex of turn 3, I don't know. Remember, they had contact at the start of the Grand Prix last year, and that was the damage for Leclerc.
I should just apologise to Julian, because I instinctively started to sort of crouch behind him in the commentary box, because there's nothing worse than having contact with your teammate. I think memories of the past were coming on in my mind there, but brilliant driving from the two Ferrari drivers.
I have to say, actually, really hard and aggressive driving, but with the ultimate respect that they had enough margin on either side. Here comes Antonelli.
Antonelli looking to the inside of Lewis Hamilton, unable to get there. Liam Lawson started on the hard tyre, more durable tyre. Isaac Hadjar scoring the final point at the moment on the softer, grippier Pirelli rubber. Looks like it's expiring. Looks like Lawson's got a great opportunity. We're keeping you up to date with all of the battles. Charles Leclerc.
Does he know how wide all these cars are? Then he can complain about turn 3, that's okay.
Okay, well, early in the season, to see the racing instincts of drivers when they're in the car, they'll just say what they feel, which is awesome. And he's not feeling it for Lewis Hamilton.
The ultimate respect line is rescinded. Maybe from one side and not the other.
Kimi Antonelli biding his time here. He does have that 10-second penalty looming over him. Carlos Sainz has moved up to 15th place. He just made a move on the Audi of Hulkenberg.
So this is allowing Leclerc now to scamper off and get a bit of space to Antonelli. Of course, I don't know if they'll know that Antonelli has the 10-second penalty, but they'd be advised to find out from the radio. There's no point in Hamilton using more of his tyres fighting Antonelli, because Norris isn't a mile away behind.
That's where I was going to go next. It's only 1.3, so any lap after lap scrap between these two could open the door for the world champion.
Yeah, look, it's the basics, it's the ABC of how you run your Grand Prix. An engineer should let the driver know who you're fighting, and I'd be very surprised if the drivers around Antonelli are not aware of his penalty.
Being told that they are aware that Antonelli has a 10-second time penalty for causing a collision with Isaac Hadjar on the opening lap after a bad start for Antonelli from the front row.
Well, Hamilton still raced him incredibly hard into turn one then, didn't he? Putting him towards the white line and still trying to turn him with the pinch on the Mercedes. I mean, on the one hand, you say the penalty's harsh because Hadjar's still running, Antonelli's still running. The stewards sometimes are at pains to say it's not done on outcome, it's down on the aggression that caused the contact rather than the fact that anyone's out of the race. Antonelli with a full 10 seconds for it. And it's so easy to do what he did, isn't it, DC? When you have a bad start, you think, I'm in the fastest car, not again. And you try and make up for it, cold tyres at the start of the race, and you make matters worse immediately.
Yeah, I think they're applying their new racing rules of was you significantly alongside when you enter the corner, and there's no question he was from behind, but there was space for his car to go, but it just closed, of course, as Hadjar had to then turn around a wide apex.
It's George Russell by 4 seconds in the lead of the Shanghai sprint race. Lewis Hamilton is 1.4 back on Charles Leclerc. Kimi Antonelli is the driver you are staring at, currently in 4th position, but with a 10-second penalty hanging over him. Then it's the McLarens. Liam Lawson is the next car. 7th place for him on the hard tyre, and the right tyre call. Unusual to see a hard tyre in a sprint race because it's only half an hour long, but Racing Bulls have got that one right.
Looking like he can score some points again on the back of Lindblad's decent haul. 8th place and 4 points in Melbourne. So Lawson, he really needs a result here as Antonelli sweeps to the inside.
Kimi Antonelli to 3rd position, undoing the difficult start earlier on, and he's able to take the place. So he not waiting around, not worrying about the detection point, just wants the clear air, and he's up to 3rd position in the sprint.
Hamilton could frustrate him back down towards turn 1. I don't think he's going to. I don't know if he's quite close enough or got more energy. So Lewis now slots in behind Kimi.
Left-hand side of your screen, Pierre Gasly, Isaac Hadjar, switchback attempt for Gasly. Not a lot of grip out there. It's a low track temperature. Carlos Sainz has made another place. He's up to 14th. Gabriel Bortoleto has just got past Esteban Ocon. He is up to 11th position. And it's still Hadjar ahead of Gasly. Both drivers out of the points, but they're only 1.4 seconds away. Arvid Lindblad had a spin on the opening lap. Very, very likely he was tagged round by another driver. Not sure we've resolved that, but he's been told to box and retire the car. He's coming back to the pits.
Yeah, Hadjar under pressure now from Gasly, just 0.2 behind that offsetting tyres. And then just looking at the woes of Red Bull, we see Max has got himself up into 11th, but just not making progress, the likes of which we've seen. Certainly in Melbourne, he was able to size his way through, but they are locked in to the performance for this race.
So he's just cleared Bortoleto and Ocon on the last lap, having had that awful start. So he is slowly getting there. Hadjar's just falling away on the soft, so they'll swap to get Max into the top 10. He's got a few laps to get a point out of this race, but they're a long way away, just in terms of car balance and finding the right window with it.
Out front, Kimi Antonelli trying to keep the Mercedes 1-2 statistic going. They had it in qualifying, they had it in the Grand Prix, they had it in sprint qualifying. Will they have it in the sprint race as we go on to lap 13 of 19?
So, Antonelli with a 10-second penalty. If he takes that right now, he'll be well ahead of Liam Lawson, but he'll be 5 seconds away from Oscar Piastri. He needs to clear Leclerc here as quickly as possible and then hope that the others fall into trouble and that Mercedes have got anything more up their sleeve to build the gap.
Leclerc cut more of the inside curb there at 2 than would be the norm, and you saw the reaction from the car. Low speed, low downforce, and kind of jumped off the edge of the curb.
It was too much, wasn't it? You're sitting so low. As you're turning there, the curb just drops away, and it's easy to actually do that.
Valtteri Bottas. I don't know if you heard him at home, but I didn't hear him in the commentary box. Either way, he's going to retire the car. Left-hand side of your screen, Max Verstappen all over the back of Isaac Hadjar, with Hadjar's car being hit, and that's soft tyre coming to a halt He's going to get through, locks up. Can he hang on to it? Max Verstappen deep off the road trying to pass. First turn of the racetrack. Hulkenberg has come to a halt, and Hadjar is back up to 11th as we get the yellow flag. It's only a yellow flag right now, and Ocon is the next car ahead. Verstappen is up to 11th.
Yeah, saw that out of the commentary box coming through turn 7. Lovely place to watch the race. All happening very, very close.
It's only a yellow flag. It's not being waved here. Kimi Antonelli on track, gets by at the exact moment the safety car is deployed. So the good news is, Kimi, you got up to P2. Bad news is, field's going to bunch together.
Yeah, bad news is, there goes your points from the race.
That's could have been a virtual. It's a full. McLaren have crawled into the pit lane. Mercedes have as well. Ferrari are out. And in they all come.
So, battle of the pit stops. And we see Mercedes, well, slick work straight away on their car as Antonelli now comes in. So, not having double stack.
So, they're going to have to wait for 10 seconds before they service the car. Double stack for Ferrari.
Yeah, McLaren didn't have to double stack.
Hamilton's out behind Lando Norris, so everyone wants the fresh tyres. The whole field's going to be bunched. Antonelli's lost loads of places too.
So, Lando Norris past Lewis Hamilton, Kimi Antonelli out ahead of Oscar Piastri. So they didn't feel that they could last on the worn tyres.
Antonelli served this penalty.
Yeah, so Antonelli served the 10-second penalty, and Antonelli is in 7th place. The defined positions are defined by the safety car line at the exit of the pit lane. So if it's close, race control will be able to go back and see whether Piastri was ahead of Gasly, for example, like we saw on the exit of the pit lane. Red Bull are in.
So we wouldn't normally expect pit stops in a sprint race, but the fact that they can has given Antonelli a good shot here to get a better haul of points, ironically.
Yeah, this isn't mandatory at all, like the Grand Prix. This is entirely for performance. You could just stay out if you like we've seen for so many in the past. OK, Lawson stayed out. He's on the hard tyres. Behrman's just rolled the dice. And then you've got Antonelli, who finds himself in 7th place, and the need to change rubber has meant that Antonelli, having served that 10-second penalty, could score points when it looked like the intervention of the safety car was going to drop him down the order.
Trying to figure out what happened with Red Bull there, because they've actually, relative to those around, have lost out a lot.
This is Max Verstappen. Oh, that was going past 2 cars in one corner.
Then they fought back at 6.
This is the lock-up for Verstappen, went off the road. Esteban Ocon, Isaac Hadjar, wheel-to-wheel further back.
And I'll tell you, that battle went on to the next corner, where Verstappen then swept around his teammate, which was very important because they double-stacked at Red Bull. So the reason they've fallen back is because they've pitted and the rest of the midfield didn't.
Look at this. And that's what Jolyon saw out of the window. That's what you're watching at home now, sweeping by and taking the place. Max Verstappen. So Hulkenberg is finally clear. The safety car is out because we have a recovery vehicle on the circuit. And it's George Russell, Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris, Lewis Hamilton. Liam Lawson is up 8 positions from where he started the sprint race in 5th. Then it's Behrman, Antonelli, and the last point scorer is Piastri. A reminder for you, Antonelli has served his 10-second penalty.
This feels like it's going to take at least another lap, doesn't it, of safety car?
Which is what Haas have gambled on.
It's rubber gloves time. So the car is not safe. It's full of electric charge. And so it's taking a lot longer for the marshals, firstly, to approach the car, secondly, to then clear it. And we've seen this a few times with general stoppages, but it's not the first time the Audis had issues as well. Hulkenberg, remember, didn't even start the Grand Prix. And so we are seeing quite a few times now where, you know, what looks to be a car that you can just push behind the barriers takes way longer to clear.
OK, this was Mercedes with George Russell.
Reasonable. It was a kind of offset there, wasn't it, between front jack down, rear jack down, and then no touching of the car before you can start servicing it. That full 10 seconds feels like an eternity when you're sitting there.
Yeah, it seemed like it when it was a really busy pit lane as well, so he will have seen the cars that he's just overtaken take their pit stops and come out ahead, but he stayed ahead of Piastri because Oscar had to double stack behind Lando, so at least kept one position there. Did Antonelli. Drops down to 7th, behind Behrman and behind Lawson. But assuming we get racing again, literally with one lap, they will just pick those guys off on a fresh soft.
Yeah, Lawson and Behrman have gambled on a long safety car and decided not to come in, take the track position, potentially take the benefit of the points. Behrman's on a very, very old medium, and Lawson has had a great sprint race, making use of an inspired call to go from 13th, currently 5th on the road.
Yeah, you can see there all the people that have pitted. So the midfielders basically didn't have the confidence that they could go to the back of the field. They didn't have the field spread like the top guys did to pit and emerge somewhere near the front. So they've had to just take the track position. Red Bull have done the opposite, and Verstappen's got a lot of overtaking that he can do.
Well, this again feels quite slow, so let's assume it's going to be yet another lap.
It's going to be avoiding action for Carlos Sainz. We saw this from the trackside pictures. Alert and needed to be.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you get an offset in speed.
He's about to crash in my back all the time, that guy.
Understood.
And a double yellow as well.
Okay, well, calling the referee on that one. But let's just, when we get to a restart, look how painfully slow they are moving through that gravel. So let's say maybe 2 laps of restart. They'll all start presumably with full deployment available.
They'll wait and get the battery as they've got a chance to recharge on any given lap, but especially probably now you're looking at the race going on the next lap. So everyone's got to be thinking about making sure the batteries are brimmed as they cross the line. They will then have, 100% like it's a qualifying lap with only 3 racing laps if it comes in this time around. I think Sainz must have been looking at the wheel there. That was very odd how close he was to drilling the back of Ocon.
Drivers having to do so much and often responding to instruction from their engineer. The safety car is ending. So if you stayed out looking for big points like Lawson and Behrman did, that gamble does not look like it's going to be rewarded.
What happened in the last corner was that wheel spin, the falling with the gearbox.
Looking into it.
So clearly some anomalies in the way that when he's accelerating, exactly what's happening. But just to close the loop on that Sainz issue there, you only need to be within 10 car lengths in distance from the car in front when you're behind the safety car, so you don't need to be on the gearbox like that.
I think it might be because everyone was pitting, so he wants to be as close to the car ahead on the pit lane exit, so if anyone emerges, there's not a nice big space between himself and Ocon that you might have someone just cruising out of the pits and taking. So that is the one point on the circuit where you actually do want to close the gap, and Ocon was very aware of what he was doing behind.
Yeah, white line across the racetrack is how they decide if a car is peeling out of the pit lane or the car is on the main racetrack. Right, Bernd Mailander, who celebrated 500 races in Australia as the safety car driver. That is some shift, isn't it? He has pulled back to the pits. George Russell, Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris, Lewis Hamilton, the contenders at the front. Liam Lawson will be looking in his mirrors and hoping that Oliver Behrman struggles even more. And look at Charles Leclerc trying to get the power down and nearly losing it. We're going back to full racing conditions, and that has restricted the pace of Norris and Hamilton behind. The green flag flies once again, and the gap across the line is 9/10 of a second. Russell, Leclerc, then Norris and Hamilton. And you can see that it's Liam Lawson putting the pressure on Hamilton at the start. No change in the top 5.
Yeah, and a few others seem to be caught out that as well. Piastri dropped a big gap to Behrman in front, so not a straightforward launch out of that safety car.
You'd have thought the soft tyres should fire up pretty quickly, but actually those that have already run 16 laps seem to be able to keep temperature in the bulk of the tyre, and now when the softs start firing up, they'll become very, very vulnerable to those behind.
The never-ending story of Gasly versus Ocon continues in the battle for 9th position. Kimi Antonelli was passed by Oscar Piastri on the restart lap. Max Verstappen got past Fernando Alonso. He's up to 13th. Colapinto now gets past Alonso. He is up to 14th.
I think it's the age-old story as Piastri pulls the Hamilton move in towards turn 9 there. The age-old story of making sure your battery's high at the cost of tyre temperature, basically.
Piastri up to 6th position. Behrman's going to struggle to score a point here because he is on old medium tyres. Antonelli having to wait.
There's only 2 laps to go, though, after this. I mean, there's not a huge amount of opportunity for the likes of Verstappen to side through and take 5 more places.
Antonelli with those fresher tyres, able to run that narrower line.
Piastri has a chance on Liam Lawson for 5th position.
Oh, this is so
it's Russell,
interesting.
then Leclerc,
So
then Norris,
interesting.
then Hamilton, and now it's Oscar Piastri who moves up to 5th position. And Antonelli claims that Piastri has overtaken him before the start-finish line. If that's the case, that's going to be a penalty, and that would cost him points.
That may well explain then why there was that gap as he went across the line. If Piastri realised, he would have backed out of it.
On board, Lewis Hamilton trying to go back up to third.
Nice.
Lot of speed, lot of pace, and now the position. He's third in the race.
Yeah, nice pass there, committed into the first corner. Piastri did overtake him, didn't he? He was ahead coming out of the final turn. So I don't know if Antonelli had a massive slide, lost it.
If it is deemed to be a driving mistake, you are allowed to go. So if he's gone off the road, you're allowed to go, but you cannot overtake until the start-finish line. And Kimi Antonelli has the inside line. Kimi Antonelli has 6th position. What an eventful race for him. And it's only 19 laps in length.
Yeah, that is an understatement, isn't it? This has given us so much.
0.8 of a second for the outright win here. And Charles Leclerc not giving up on this one. George Russell has the active aero in one of 4 straight zones around the circuit.
Bizarre one for Piastri now to be told to give back the place nearly 2 laps after he took it. Yeah, that's something sort of fundamentally against the rules.
Yeah, well, that may be slightly delayed, the information we're getting there, but what would be great is to get a replay of that restart to understand exactly how he found himself in front of Antonelli, who we're going to assume will get his place back now.
So Piastri checks the mirrors, he'll wave the Italian through, check a look at the gap for Charles Leclerc. So Kimi Antonelli back up to P5. Did Charles Leclerc stay within a second? Does he get overtake mode on the last lap? I think he will. Ocon on Gasly. Great move for him. It's not for points, but it allows Verstappen to get up to 10th. Ocon is in 9th. Still we continue on. And we're on the final tour of the sprint race.
Ocon's doing a great job for Behrman, who's up the road in that final points position. So Ocon holding Verstappen back will really be... he's done there into turn 1.
He was.
Helping his teammate out for a long time. So Behrman's on the back of Lawson, trying to pick up a point there, but they're all going to be under pressure for Max, trying to make the most of that new soft on the final tour.
It's 1.1 seconds. George Russell trying to check out and take just a 2nd career sprint victory. Here he is, the British driver at the head of the field, trying to make it 2 from 2 for Formula 1 wins in 2026. Charles Leclerc in 2nd, has the fastest lap in the 19 that we've run so far. Then Hamilton, Norris, Piastri, overtaken by Antonelli, asked to move aside. And then it's Lawson and Behrman. Can Verstappen catch Behrman and score the final point?
Looks a long way, that gap, and Behrman's putting pressure on Lawson.
Yeah, more likely Behrman's going to pass Lawson. I think he's very, very close through the middle sector. Max still looks like he's too far away, even with the softs. Hasn't been able to make up, needed about 2 seconds difference there at the end.
So the points could change in the final meters of the race, but out front, checking the right-hand mirror and seeing both Ferraris still there. He's had a great scrap with Charles Leclerc in Australia, a great scrap with Lewis Hamilton in Shanghai, but once again, George Russell will see the checkered flag first. George Russell wins the opening sprint of the season. It's Charles Leclerc in 2nd, Lewis Hamilton in 3rd, 4th is Lando Norris. Kimi Antonelli is in 5th, and how's your traction across the line, Liam Lawson? It's good enough for 7th place. Behrman hangs on to the final point by 0.4 of a second. Verstappen closed him down, but not by enough, and it's still Mercedes on top in Formula 1.
That was 19 laps of racing, gentlemen. There was a lot happened there.
Breathless, wasn't it? You know what? Leclerc was really quick at the end on a new soft as well. Don't know if Russell was managing, you know, he knew he only had 3 laps to do, but Leclerc set the fastest lap, managed to get within a second and finish 0.6 down. So in race trim, the Ferraris are closer, but still Russell remains unbeaten.
Giving them great insight for tomorrow, and also what they can afford to adjust going into quali.
Great job, mate. Excellent work today.
Good job. Nice in the beginning. Lewis did a very good job in those early laps, definitely.
Yeah, he done. Looked like he had the tyres well under control.
Straight into pundit mode, George Russell.
I really enjoyed how Hamilton was racing there. I'm enjoying Ferrari basically just coming out swinging. We saw it with Leclerc at turn 1 and then every lap for the next 10 in Melbourne. And here, Hamilton outside of 8 into 9, thinking, stuff it. I'll take the race lead and then try and come past me. And it is not easy for even the Mercedes with the best car to do that. So pundit George Russell is is aware of the threat.
Yeah, and I think also there's an element of trying to keep the spotlight of just, you know, he had to work for it, but it was still a comfortable win in the end. And what we've now had is the old show and tell of what we can expect in the Grand Prix, where you don't want to be ahead going into the final corner.
A lot of debris on the back straight, so there was a skirmish all the way to the end. And the car's recovering back to the pit lane. Top three we'll hear from in a few moments' time. Second place driver, Charles Leclerc, entertaining battle with his teammate in that race.
Well done, it's a good race.
Yeah, pace was strong. It's a shame there was a bit more fighting than what I would have hoped.
With his teammate Charles Leclerc talking about it, and that's where they really lost ground to Russell, when Leclerc then was a bit quicker than Lewis when he then made the pass, but lost a lot of time fighting with his teammate. But still second and third for Ferrari. Very good haul of points. And Antonelli here is the driver that's going to be frustrated. Actually, fifth is as good as he could have hoped for. That was going to be sixth before the safety car. But Lando Norris was asked sort of two-thirds of the way through last year what was his regret, and he said the China sprint, where he just had a random run to seventh and lost a load of points. You think it's a sprint Saturday, but actually that's a good haul of points that Kimi's just dropped there compared to his teammate and potentially title rival.
Max there would have seen that rubber seal flapping in the wind when he's out on track. You've limited visibility, you know, in the cockpit, but you can see just the top surface and sidewall of your tyre. So something's become detached during the Grand Prix.
George Russell receiving a rapturous reception. Crowd in the main grandstand enjoyed it. George Russell, the first sprint winner of the season. Only his second sprint win in his Formula One career. The other one was Sao Paulo on the weekend of his first Grand Prix win. So I hope that omen continues. And wary of the Ferrari threat, having to battle them. But 2 from 2 this year, he has emerged on top. We do the full Grand Prix tomorrow. Immediately, the drivers' thoughts will be turning to where the cars can improve, what they need to do. They will be able to reset things afterwards to try and catch this man, George Russell, who has taken the checkered flag first. Gets the congratulations from his team. Charles Leclerc going through the admin of getting weighed, get a little ticket. That's then added to the weight of the car to check that everyone is within the parameters of the regulations. Lewis Hamilton has his own section of that enormous grandstand in the background, and they've been cheering him over the line lap after lap in the fight for the win. And then just a bit of graining on those medium tyres, flurry into the pit lane, and a couple of laps at the end.
That turned out to be good practice for the pit crews as well as the drivers, the sprint. Not everyone choosing to head to the pit lane, but they've got their eye in.
Double good call, really, from Racing Bulls, wasn't it? Start on the hard tyre,
Yeah.
Don't take the pit stop. 7th place for Liam Lawson with that.
Well, it's very handy if you consider how tight it's been in the battles further back. Sergio Perez got a penalty for a safety car infringement. We saw that there was a lot more going on, and that is towards the end. I believe that's the debris that you saw on the back straight.
Yeah, barge board breaking free.
That all just blown off the Cadillac.
They are pretty vulnerable, those barge boards, aren't they? It's a quirk of this regulations. They sit out there just behind the front wheel in a sort of no man's land. So it won't be the first, well, it's not the first. We saw them in Melbourne, and it certainly won't be the last that we see parting company.
We're going to hear from our winner. Ho Pin Tung is speaking to George Russell.
George, winner of the sprint race here in Shanghai. Those look like a very dicey first few laps again.
Again, yeah, I just spoke with Charles, and we're like, actually, this is pretty fun in the end. So a lot of strategy at play, and how you do the overtakes is not easy. I hope it was a fun race to watch. Usually the sprint races are pretty boring, and then I got everything under control, safety car. But yeah, really happy to get the win.
Yeah, you say it's not easy. From the outside, it obviously looks very easy, but can you describe how difficult is it from in the car for you? You feel a lot of wind here as well, for example?
Yeah, I mean, it's really windy at the moment. It's not easy because this first corner is so long and it only takes one lap of pushing too much and you can destroy your front left tire. So it was just sort of managing, and especially when we were battling, you know, Lewis did an amazing job in the early laps. He caught me off guard, but you know, 20 years experience. So that's, yeah, I've still got a little bit to learn there.
Can we expect more from you in qualifying and tomorrow?
I mean, I hope we can bring more, but you know, yesterday was a really great day. Ferrari again seemed to be offset in qualifying, but really close to us in race pace. So ultimately, we probably need to find a bit of improvement for the race.
Good, thank you. Good luck. Charles, from P6 to P2, what a race. Obviously, much has been said about energy management, but I think you early recognized left front was critical here because you saw you managing in the beginning.
Yeah, I was managing quite a bit, but I'm pretty happy with the race. I think the pace was quite strong. We had a bit of fighting, which made me lose time maybe to George, and then it was difficult to catch up. But it's good to see that at least our race pace is more similar to the Mercedes than our qualifying pace. And yeah, pretty happy with the car today.
Yeah, I gotta ask, on the restart, exit P14, the hairpin, huge snap there, oversteer. What happened?
Well, I think the tires were a little bit colder than what I expected. I saw George actually having a snap, and I was like, okay, this is probably my opportunity to take the lead. So I tried to go a bit more aggressive on throttle, but I had the same rear grip as George, so I nearly lost it. But luckily, yeah, didn't completely lose it. And then also the last corner was very poor grip.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Lewis, P3. What an entertainment from you in the first few laps. Great start again, and then the battle, turn 1, 2, 3, amazing.
Yeah, mega job. Ni hao. It's amazing a big thank you to the team for us to be able to be in this position fighting with the Mercedes at the front. It was a close battle at the beginning there. Speed on the straights just a little bit too much at the moment, but I think I put up a good fight. But I killed my left tire, so I wasn't able to hold on to position. Yeah,
I see you standing here with a smile. How much nicer are these cars to drive? How much better do they suit your driving style this year?
I don't know. I feel it's just a much better car that we've designed, and we've been a part of developing it. So definitely a lot happier in it. And of course, I was in the lead at one point, so to finish third is not the greatest, but I will try harder again tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hope in time. In conversation with George Russell, Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, our top 3 finishers in the Shanghai sprint race. One of 6 that will run this year, and plenty of pass and repass action all the way through. So intense stuff out there.
Change things massively, but as I said, we had a fight on our hands with Ferrari. Similar to Melbourne, today was a real scrap at the beginning, so I hope that continues into tomorrow.
Right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Shishi.
I didn't know we were getting an extra question there. Bonus question. Sorry if I talked over the question. This was the moment where George Russell took the checkered flag. 2 wins from 2. The expectation set. The reaction, the polite applause, rather than bouncing around the garage for a team that was used to dominating and then found themselves adrift in the ground effect era. Sporadic wins, 2 wins last year, and 9 podiums represented George Russell's best ever Formula One year. You get the feeling he's going to improve upon that in 2026.
Oh. Thank you guys, thank you for tuning
Russell,
in.
Leclerc, Hamilton, the top 3 finishers. Norris, Antonelli, Piastri, Lawson and Behrman, the remaining point scorers. And we'll next be racing for half an hour with the shorter format in Miami. Looking forward to that one later in the season. Let's get you a full classification of the 19-lap contest that went all the way to the end and was decided by 0.6 of a second. George Russell was the winner. He was chased home by the Ferraris. Charles Leclerc in second, Lewis Hamilton saying that Medium tyre fell away, but competitive for him compared to last year. Norris in 4th, ahead of Antonelli in 5th. Then it was Piastri P6. Liam Lawson, inspired shout to go on the hard tyres.